Don't sell.
Gotcha.
Establish a relationship. Establish a strong relationship, because once again, people do business with people they like. Hello friends, welcome back for another episode of Two Kids in a Startup, where we bring you guys behind the scenes on what's it like building a startup while raising two young kiddos. I'm Wilson.
I'm Cass.
And this week, we're bringing you behind the scenes of a 36-hour trip to New York in signing our big client. Yay! And throughout this entire period, we're going to be sharing with you the networking, the events, the speaking engagements, the VCs that we had to meet, and really how do we string everything together in today's world? Because you know what? It's not easy. And yeah, without further ado, let's dive right in, Cass. So this is the third year that NFT NYC has invited me to go back and speak at their events. Last 2 years was decent, not bad at all. And this time around, especially with two kids, with so much work that we have ongoing in projects, I've really contemplated whether to go or not. And I didn't even tell you.
Contemplated. You told me a couple days. Oh my God, we should pull back all the clips where you tell me last minute you're going to something.
This is not last minute. It's like a week beforehand when I realized that, okay, you know what, I have to go. And the reason why is because we're doing our fundraising 2.0 finally, and I've secured a few meetings to meet with very prominent VC figures in the space, which is great because having these meetings is not easy. And on top of that, there is also a big client that we were about to sign. So we're like, okay, is it worth it? It's probably worth it for me to go, because at that moment, we still don't know if we signed him or not. And it would be like a cherry on top thing if I had went. Mm-hmm. So that's why I decided to go to the event.
And context here, I think we should even talk about what happened before this first meet with this person, because it did not go very smoothly.
Oh my goodness.
And that's why, I think when you're talking about meeting someone in person, it's valuable because yes, it was a cherry on top, but prior to that, the relationship was not one that was started from love.
Wow.
On the contrary, it was quite bad.
It's there, eh? So we're going to go that deep.
I mean, it just context-wise.
So. Sure. Like, so this is a big client in the blockchain space. 5-figure deal, and it was a referral from a good friend of ours, and so we thought that we're gonna get this in the bag for sure.
You told me, you were like, it's a done deal, and then this call that we were gonna jump on, where I started joining. Usually, you do all the kind of networking, the BD, and then by the time I get brought into call, it's like, hey, we're ready to kick off.
Yeah.
And when we're ready to kick off, that was when I realized things were no bueno.
Yeah, everything was good until the point we told them our price. That was when the moment it just completely flipped. Like you can see the eyes. It was just like, what? And the entire feeling was just completely upside down. And it has nothing to do with him. I think it's just a misunderstanding on what is the work to be done and the amount of work to be done and the quality of work to be done to be successful in what it is that they're trying to achieve. And when people are not comparing the same apples to apples, then there's a big discrepancy. And that's why it was such a big sticker shock for them.
Yeah.
And so then for a whole weekend, I'm like trying to figure out, I'm like, did we overquote or did we not overquote? Because like what we do, I think is super, super valuable. And we focus on quality. And we're not just there to make a margin or make money or whatever the case may be. And quite frankly, even I still think that we're undercharging. Actually, you know what? I know we're undercharging because they told us we're undercharging after our first round of work that we have provided. And when they saw what we were providing, they were like, if you guys keep up with this level of work, we're 100% underpaying you guys. And I didn't even ask about that. So that really shows the quality of work that we have. So interestingly enough.
Yeah. So you went back to NFT NYC. One of the reasons was because of this person who we really kicked it off. The call went poorly. Somehow we were still in the candidate running, and you met with this person and repaired that relationship.
Oh, totally. We had like a 2-hour chat, and I think being able to have the face-to-face eye contact to actually know, like, what is this guy all about? Like, is he just saying that he's going to do this for me? Is he here to make a quick buck? Can I even trust you? Right? And I think those are really important relationship building that allows us to be able to give them confidence that, like, oh, this is good to go. And a lot of things can't be shared online, right? It's like these little chats that you can really rub off each other's rapport.
So how was the overall experience then?
The overall event was good. Actually, you know what? I never really find much value going to the events and attending the events that is hosted by like a big conference. Usually what happens is like these really big events, they draw in a ton of people from all around the world to go. But the people that are doing business, majority of them are not going to the event. They are there to do business with other people that are going to the side events, the side dinners, the VIP events that are happening behind the scenes. Those are the ones that are the most fruitful and most, I would say, promising for sure. One of the things that I really value when going to these events and conference is to be able to speak on the stage. Not for like an egoistic purpose, quite frankly. It's really about the access. All in all, it's always about the access, whether it's the side events, the VIP events, the closed doors of people that you meet. Having a badge to go into the green room, to meet the people that are the speakers, allows you to listen to different conversations and meet the people that are doing different things. And I think that is a very key insight that people don't really get to see under the hood.
I feel like it's a little secret hack. Yeah, because also at the time when you're going to NFT NYC, it's not like there are people lining up listening to your talks. Like, but you do end up being able to say, hey, you're a speaker, and then gaining access to that.
Yeah. And remember when we went to VCon? Like when we had because I was a speaker, we got to be able to see and be in the green rooms, and like all these different types of talent was going in and out of the backstage.
I was trying to chase Deepak Chopra. Him in his gold white runner sneakers.
Yeah.
So cool.
And then we also met with Jim Quick. You know, like all these opportunities come up because you have that access.
It's true. So how do you feel the return on investment is when you do that?
Oh, 100 folds. Like not only, I think the people don't want to get pitched to. People of value don't want to. No one likes to get pitched to. And so when you're in a room that you are chatting with people, we know that it's already a curated room. And so the ROI is just, it weeds out the people that are trying to sell you stuff is really what it is.
That was a trick question.
What is a trick question?
Because you didn't think about the impact it was like to me leaving 2 kids behind and a wife to take care of this business and run it still.
I mean, the ROI is great, but you're right. It's tough on the kids and it's tough on you. So thank you.
So how did the speaking engagement go?
I mean, it was kind of meh. Funny enough, like I didn't even get the questions until, actually, you know what? I never even got the questions nor the topic from the moderator. He never showed up in our email threads. He never showed up in our telegrams and everything. And it was just me and the other panelists trying to figure out what's going on.
So you didn't know the topic?
I didn't even know the topic. I didn't even know what questions that they were going to ask. Because typically speaking, they would ask you a bunch of questions like, hey, this is how I'm going to tee you up. This is how we're going to figure out like what's engaging, what questions we're going to be asking, like how is it going to work. And the other panelists or like the other people involved, they're going to come in and they're going to be like, oh, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about that. We had none of those.
So how did you come up with the questions?
I never.
How did you guys line it up?
We never. That's the crazy thing is we never even lined it up. It was just we ended up being me and the other person, which was a panelist, trying to figure out like what are we going to talk about. And the other person, she was very adamant in answering questions that allows her to talk about her business and talk about what she does, not necessarily on point with the big topic. As much as I don't know what the questions are, there's a preset topic already. And so anything that is falling within that umbrella, we can talk about. But I feel like my partner wasn't really working with me on that, which was like kind of like, I'm like, oh, that's going to be no fun. And yeah, and it was so rude that they ended up starting the talk without me.
Oh,
Yeah.
actually, I remember you telling me this part.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were running late.
I was running late at the same time because there was an earthquake.
Right.
Yeah, which is crazy. And like on the way driving there, like we had an earthquake in New York, and which was nuts because I didn't know what was going on. My Uber driver started like calling her daughter, trying to figure out, or calling the wife actually at that moment. She was like, "Hey, you know what? I can't get to the daughter. Like, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna go pick her up at school and stuff like that?" And I'm like already freaking out because that was the day I was flying out. Right after the talk is when I was flying out, and so I was a little bit like, "Am I gonna miss the flight? Like, damn, you're gonna be pissed." Is literally what I was thinking. I'm like,
You need to get home even though there's an earthquake by 7 p.m. because you told me so.
Exactly. And so I was already freaking out because I'm like, can I go home in time? And then I messaged the girl. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to arrive 10 minutes before the talk, right? And she won't work with me on the question. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Let's just wing it. Let's just talk. I go there, met up with our videographer, and we're walking there. And we're like, where is this girl? We open the door, and she was already speaking with another moderator.
So did you just run up?
I didn't run up because the funny thing is there's no one in the room. There was like literally zero audience, and I'm like, what is going on? Why are you guys speaking so early? And then they mic'd me up, and then I got onto the stage. And when I got on the stage was when people started coming in because we were supposed to start at 11, and they decided somehow, some why, I don't know why, started at like 7 to 8 minutes beforehand. It's kind of like insulted. Offended, not insulted.
That was pretty rude of her to do that.
That was pretty rude, right? Yeah.
She wanted to steal this limelight.
Yeah, I guess so. But anyways, the talk went really well because when it comes down to what we do, I think it's because I pitch a lot. I can ramble on quite a bit and was able to really showcase the examples of what we have done in the past and to really relate back to the audience of what's the impact of blockchain on the next generation. Right?
What did you think the impact was walking after the speaker event?
Typically speaking, after speaker events, they are usually really good because you would know if you've done a really good job is when you have people coming up to you to ask questions after. Because when you're able to say something that resonates, that inspires, people are excited to come up and ask or to share their gratitude, right? And so I think the impact itself is shown through who is coming up to you afterwards. So through this event, it was good because a few people came up and we were able to connect. But once again, I think that when it comes down to these events, it's really about the access to other events, to other rooms.
So what other access did you get?
None.
Or like what other events was meaningful?
For this one, I think it particularly, I was able to meet up with some very prominent venture capitalists that would help us with our fundraising, right? And I was able to really share with them what is it that we're doing to really tee up our fundraising initiative that we've been working on for a while. So that's a big plus.
What is your perspective on the value behind networking?
It is important to have that face-to-face interaction. I think like people do business once again with people that they like, right? And so like a lot of times I put myself in their shoes. Like they're getting 20 to 30 different pitches or 50 pitches every single day. And they have to go through decks of after decks, after decks, after decks. Like, how do you stand out from that? It's like when you're applying for a job, there's like 50, 60, 100 different resumes that you have to go through. The person that reaches out to you to get coffee with you, you much more likely have an impression on them. And the chances of their success is much higher, or you would remember them. And I think that really translates back to having one-on-one meetings with either your client or with, let's say, VCs that you're trying to get funding from them. It's important to have these face-to-face, especially in today's world where having Zoom meetings it's like the status quo, right? And I feel like people do miss the times when you have the face-to-face environments and live events is there's so much more value because of that, because we're always behind the screen. We're always on Twitter. We're always on Telegram, and yeah, it's important.
So when you say setting up these meetings is so valuable and networking via, like, I guess in-person meetings are so valuable, how do you even go about setting up these meetings in advance, or are you doing these on the fly?
For these guys, I definitely was setting up on the fly because we only had like a week to prepare. But generally speaking, getting introductions is really the best way to set up these meetings. And you really need to be able to, once again, how do you get introductions? You need to and continue to nurture relationships. So after meeting them, you need to follow up every few months, let them know what you're doing. And then when there are other events, then you would ping them. You're like, hey, you know what? Are you heading to this event? If you're not, then do you have anyone that I should go and meet? And typically that's how I usually get my events. And if you're not annoying, if you're not just there to sell them stuff, they are very happy to share your contact with people they think would have value. Yeah. And so I think this industry is really interesting because people are much more willing to be collaborative rather than having like a closed gated door.
Yeah.
They want you to meet with other people.
Which is why BD is so time consuming.
Business development, yeah.
It's like the networking, the nurturing of relationships. I'm just not about it.
I know you're not about it, and that's why I have to do it. And it's very difficult, especially, that's one of my biggest struggle is it's a tug of war between like me wanting to do my job really well is like, I know that, I should go to this event. For example, like Dubai. There's a lot of people inviting me to go to Dubai. They're like, hey, if you're looking for fundraising, you should go to this event. You should go to that event. Now, at the same time, I'm tugged back into what we're doing and how we're building our business, our family, us, right? And so the tug of war is internal where I'm like, if only we didn't have kids yet and we had this opportunity, we would be going full force into this. Right. And I think that's a really big lesson for people that are listening is like, when you're young, ready to hustle, this is such a great time. Don't take any of these times for granted and just go hustle hard. Yeah.
Then how do you go about choosing which event you want to attend to? AKA, which one does CAS allow you to go?
I think this one in particular is because when there are enough guarantees, right? When there are enough guarantees where you're like, okay, if I'm meeting 2 clients here and a VC here, like I know this event will be fruitful and it is going to be worth it. And so, and when I share that with you, you're like, okay, for sure, that makes sense. But if I'm just going to an event, like trying to do BD, then you're like, well, it's like, there's so many different events. Why this one? Right.
I also think one of the main reasons also was repairing or trying to band-aid that relationship that didn't start off on a good foot.
Yeah.
And I think that was very valuable.
Yeah. And I think another tip is when you go and do these BDs, don't go into a meeting and just like hope for the best, but actually do your homework. and actually stalk the other the people, right? Like understand what is it that they like, understand what is it that they've been doing, what's their career like, what's their language, right? I just had this meeting with a VC. We had an hour plus long chat. We had pizza together, and the only reason why we had that long of a duration of a chat is because we spoke the same language. We were able to laugh about things that happened 2 years ago in the industry, because I know where he was from, and I know that, okay, cool, we can talk about these topics and it would excite him. And it shows that we are of the same mindset. And when it comes down to investing, it's really about like, are you building something that they believe in, right? And not to tell you to kind of shift things around, you just need to position yourself accordingly and do your research.
Yeah. So if you have to give one piece of advice for someone who wants to have a really great networking experience, what would that be?
Don't sell.
Don't sell what?
Yeah, that's literally don't sell.
Don't sell.
Don't sell.
Gotcha.
Establish a relationship. Establish a strong relationship, because once again, people do business with people they like, right? And if you're there to establish a relationship, they would know. And when the timing is right, magic would happen. But if you're trying to force feed something to someone when they don't need it at that time, nothing would ever happen anyways. So you might as well establish that relationship, nurture that relationship, and good things will happen. And play
Be there
that
for the
game.
long game.
Yeah, play that long game.
Yeah. That's
pretty
hard
much
to remember, but also a very important one.
Yeah, well, I think that's pretty much it this week.
Awesome.
Yeah, make sure you guys stay tuned for next week. Make sure you guys subscribe to YouTube and podcasts. I want to see and listen to any of your craziest stories that you guys can share. So make sure you guys leave it in the comment section below. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week.